Ta-da! Hey guys, how are you doing? So, welcome to some free training that we are doing. Is that okay there? Let me just move that over a little bit. How's everybody doing? We are live. This is like a opt-in free, some live training, which I've kind of gotten used to now because I love StreamYard so much. Hey, how is everybody doing? Can I make sure that people can hear me okay? If you're watching on YouTube, you can throw a comment in the live chat, or I think it's the live chat and it comes up, so that's cool. If you're watching on Facebook, you can say hello on Facebook in the comments and it comes through, so awesome. Hey Luke, how's it going? Fantastic, glad you're with me. I hear you, awesome. In that case, I'm gonna crack on. We've got a lot of training to get through today. A lot of revelatory things that I've been kind of working on. And basically, I wanted to share with you my process for basically charging the customer before I've even sent the proposal. So I typically make money from working with customers just from the inquiry. Hey, Darren, thank you so much. Glad you got let me know. Hey, Steve, how's it going? And it might sound a little bit like, how would you say that? It might sound a little bit too good to be true and a bit hypey, but the reality is the more you start doing this process that I'm going to kind of take you through. Hey, Kendra, how's it going? Hey, Larry. The more you go through this process, the more you'll start to see other businesses go through this process. And hopefully I'm just going to outline to you what people do and how it goes wrong, what we're going to start doing instead, how it impacts customer buy-in, which is basically the likelihood of someone going to buy, your income, right? That's like number one, and also the value, that your perceived value, and potentially as well the value that you bring. And it's really interesting because as soon as you start following this process, you'll find, hey Kate, hey Diger, how's it going? I know they're going to be very demanding and I want to double their monthly fee. All right, well, maybe this will be able to help. And you could still do this, by the way, with a brand new customer or with your current customers. So a little while back, about a year ago, someone asked me what my my daily rate was. And I was like, I don't really have a daily rate because I tend to just charge based on like value. I sell products, digital solutions, so I don't really have a daily rate. And they said, well, what would it take for us to work with you for the day? And I just plucked the number straight out of the air and I went, $1,000, all right? Hey, Stephanie, glad you're joining us. I said, $1,000, all right? I'll take $1,000. And they were like, okay, great, fantastic. I'm coming for the day and we'll give you $1,000. And I was like, huh. And this was in the UK, so it worked out, I don't know what that is, 800 quid. And I was like, all right, well, that was kind of easy. And I said to them, why were you so happy to just give me the $1,000? And he said, oh, because of the process that you took us through. And what was really interesting is the process that I'd taken them through was actually because I didn't want to work with them. When I said to them $1,000, I was hoping that they would say, oh, that's a bit too much, we don't want to work with you. Because I really didn't want to travel in, get the train, work with them for the day and then come home. I really couldn't be bothered to do that. This is, like I said, this is about a year ago. And I remember saying to Liv, I was like, I've got to stop doing this because I'm going into London. And where I live in the UK, now in America, the travel distance that I'm about to tell you is, what you guys take to get to the end of the end of the city. And in Australia, this is the type of time I'm going to tell you that you takes to get to the end of the driveway. But it takes about 3.5 hours to get from where I am to get to London. And the reality is, I was like, I'm sick of it. I'm sick of waking up super early. I'm sick of having to miss like the gym, not having a decent breakfast. Hey man, how's it going? Cheers, Eddie. Good to see you, man. And so I kept saying to them, oh, I need you to fill out this form. I need you to tell me this. I need you to tell me that. And basically because I didn't want to work with them, I kept putting hoops in the way. Contrast that to a few years before that, and there was a guy locally to me who had heard that I build pretty decent marketing systems, I was calling them back in the time, but marketing funnels for all intents and purposes. And he had heard that I do a pretty good job. I'd done a few presentations for the local Chamber of Commerce. And a friend of mine said, oh, well, I can get you a meeting with this guy. He owns a few shops in the local area. You'd get on really well with him. Hey, Belinda. Hey, DeAnjay. How you doing? Hey, Sheila. And I went to the meeting And first of all, he didn't turn up. And I was like, okay, fine. I'll come back another time. I'll come back later. And sure enough, he ended up booking a call, and I took him out. And I was so desperate to work with him that I paid for everything. I paid for the drinks, paid for coffee, whatever. And I kind of taken that from my days at corporate, where you take a customer out and you kind of wine and dine them, you know, and you're essentially buying their business, which sounds a bit weird. Hey, Bhavesh, how you doing? And what was interesting is that I went through this entire process, and I was spending, at the time, we didn't have anything. Liv and I lived in this tiny 1-bedroom apartment. Like literally, it was a bedroom, and then you walk out and it's the staircase. We had a shared bathroom, shared loo. It was tiny, tiny, tiny. So we didn't have any money. So when I was like spending money on this coffee and lunch and stuff with him, I was like, my card could legitimately, they could say, you don't have the funds. Right? And I basically was chasing this customer, and I said to Liv, isn't that interesting that now, as in just a few days ago, I'm pretty much able to say to someone, it's 997 for me to tell you what to do. I went into a customer's office recently, and you know, they said, oh, what do we need to work on? What do we need to fix? And I said, and had been there about 6 months ago, and I said, this is an absolute fucking mess. I don't know what you guys have done, but you've messed it up really badly. Here's what we need to do. Here's how we need to work it. And I've come, you know, and since then we've kind of continued working together. And I said, if you want me to write up a proposal, that'll be about £1,000. And that's £1,000. I said again, 997 for me to write up the proposal. And they're like, yeah, that's fine. I was like, this is insane. I seem to be putting more obstacles in people's way, but they seem to be happier. We go backwards in time. The guy who I had to pay lunch for and I desperately wanted to work with, he ended up being an absolute nightmare. He ended up being an absolute nightmare to work with. To be fair to him, he did pay on time, but he didn't exactly pay a lot of money. Hey, Beth, how's it going? He didn't exactly pay me a lot, right? I wasn't overly happy about the state that of work that he was in. So what I want to share with you is the exact process that I have for basically how I get paid before sending a proposal. And if people want to hear my ideas on what the proposal should be, they have to pay for that. And I'm going to compare it to where we are now. And as I mentioned, I'm going to use these 3 different areas. Got value, income, and buy-in. Value is basically your perceived value. Income is obviously the amount of money that you're generating. And customer buy-in is the likelihood that they're going to buy. I'm just going to shift this over just a little bit more. There we go. Cool. This line here pretty much represents a really classic journey that we tend to take. And we tend to take this actually with all products and services. Everything from web design to marketing out to photography, all of this. And I hate going through this process as a customer. I hate it when a salesperson says, let's go for coffee. I'm like, I'm actually a really busy person. I don't want that. I want you to tell me how you're going to help me and tell me how much it's going to cost, right? I'm terrible to be sold to. I like to be sold to. But we get the email inquiry in, right? That comes in. And that's essentially what we would call a lead, right? Let me know in the comments, by the way, as we're going through this, if you recognize this, if you go, oh my God, yes, I've seen this happen. This happens to me. This happens actually regularly. This happens to me recently. You know, let me know. Sorry, guys, I'm just kind of playing around with the camera. It's kind of a new studio setup that we're playing around with. So anyway. And what you say is you say, let's go for coffee, because I want to hear your ideas. And also, let me know if this is true. I had a real tendency to basically give away as much as my brain as possible. They would often say, can I pick your brains? And they would say things like, what do you think we should do? We've got a real problem with lead generation. We've got a real problem with our previous marketing agency. We've got a real problem with our previous website designer. Can I pick your brains? I just want to understand a bit more about you. And you kind of do this weird push-pull where you're actually desperate to show them how good you are. You're desperate to say to them, this is what we've done in the past. This is what we do. This is how we work, you know. And you basically do as much as you can to show off. After that, you'll send them a proposal. Maybe you spend 20 minutes. By the way, my proposals take about 20 minutes for me to write. I don't even run an agency anymore. That's taken care of by a bunch of other people. But if I have private consulting work come in, I'll write a proposal, but it'll take about 20 minutes and I will still charge for that proposal. Other people spend 6 hours plus writing their proposal and it kills them because they're basically going back over all the stuff they've learned over coffee and the previous meetings. And you know as well as I do that during that, you're either desperately telling people all about you, or, and this is the thing I absolutely loathe, is when the customer basically uses it as a 45-minute excuse to tell you their entire life story. And I'm like, get to the fucking point. Get to the point and tell me what's wrong with your business. And the proposal then takes hours to write. And then for some reason, they want another meeting. All right. You send them the proposal and maybe they don't. Some of them, X% will go, yeah, that sounds great, all right? But I'm going to show you why that's still a problem. And some of them, it's still a bit of a crapshoot because you basically got no idea of whether they are likely to buy. Hesitant of sending proposals, I'd be like, and I'd click the button and be like, okay, fine. And just, it would go out there and I'd be like, done, all right, I'm fine with that. Then potentially you get a sale, right? This is where the money comes in. And then this is the part that used to kill me, is there's skeletons in the closet. We'd actually get into the business and we'd say, okay, give us all your login information. Let's have a look at everything. And we find out that the email list they talked about kind of in the proposal coffee stage or maybe at the meeting, turns out it's all bought email addresses, so I can't use it. The Facebook advertising that they'd set up was for another page, so we don't have any data. The website they've got, they thought it was built on WordPress, but it was actually built on, Joomla's not that bad. I used to use one called Umbraco, which is just mind-bogglingly bad. Anyway, there's loads of skeletons in the closet. So here's what happens. This is 0 for income line, right? That's your base level. Essentially, if you didn't go through any of this, your income level wouldn't change, right? That's basically what we're saying. As soon as the lead comes in, you go for coffee, your income level immediately drops because you are saying to them, I will take you out for a meeting. Regardless of that, it actually costs you time to go through that process, do the discovery call, discover what they want, find out a little bit about them. Are they, what kind of business have they got? And chances are you're probably going to want to spend some time on them anyway. And maybe you don't take them out for coffee. Maybe it's something more. Maybe it's lunch. Either way, your income immediately takes a dip. Immediately. Hey, Paul, how's it going? Hey, guys, if you have got questions, I will get to them at the end. Then you go through the proposal process. And this part here, like we said, that could be, well, realistically, in an ideal world, it should be the same day. You should do it in the same day. But most people probably take a couple of weeks. Yeah. And then there's a meeting, and that takes another 2 weeks. This is a legitimate example. It's a guy who actually, funny enough, his business went under. Shocker. I went round out of a courtesy to see him because he was a friend of a friend. And he was like, tell me why I should spend £10,000 on a website on you. I bought my friend here who's, I don't know, he was a fucking, he'd run a shop or something and maybe was a bit of a musician. I was like, okay. He's like, he does a little bit of graphic design, so he kind of knows what he's talking about. He says 10 grand's quite a lot. I was like, why does he have to come into the meeting now? Is he a decision maker? Like, why does he have to be there? Anyway, it's just more time added to it, right? And throughout all of this, your income level is slowly being ebbed away at because you're constantly having this back and forth. Then your income level spikes potentially with the sale. And then you find, oh, turns out we can't do a lot of the stuff we want to do because there's skeletons in the closet, because their email list isn't quite as good as they say it is, their revenue isn't quite as good as they say it is, their budget isn't quite what they say it is, their resources aren't quite what they say they are. They basically told a lot of porky pies, and that actually eats into your income level. We've got a lot of data on this. If you show the income per project for a lot of funnel builders, marketers, website designers, developers, and everyone in between in that digital creative space, most projects aren't profitable, which sounds insane, but most projects aren't profitable. I even say in my book, like 5 figures for a project, it doesn't mean it's inherently going to be profitable. It's a big misnomer. Because you've got all of these variables. You've got no idea how many times you have to do this. You've got no idea how many times you have to send a proposal. You've got no idea how many meetings afterwards. If they buy it straight away, great. And then the skeletons, that could be anything. Here's what happens with your value. Immediately, again, starting at 0, the customer is immediately interested in working with you. So your value is actually quite high at this stage. By the time you, and this is, I know it sounds insane, but when you say to them, oh, let's go for coffee, it actually plummets. It goes right down because you're immediately saying to them, let's go do something casual, I'll buy it because you're the thing that I want to chase. You're the prize, right? When you write the proposal, and again, depending on how long it takes, that can continue to eat into it. When you have the meeting, it stays pretty low. Here's what's interesting. When you actually make the sale, it does go up. And then your value can continue to rise, but typically stays pretty stable until you find those skeletons in the closet, and then it drops again. Why? Because you will be blamed for the skeletons in the closet, despite the fact it was another agency, despite the fact that it was another business, despite the fact that it had nothing to do with you. It's your value that's affected by the skeletons in the closet. Customers have a habit of shooting the messenger, and it's awful, but that's the reality. Customer buy-in. This is really going to shock you guys. The customer's likelihood of buying is highest during that stage and that stage. When you take them to coffee and a proposal, whatever, it immediately drops. And then you send them the proposal and they go, oh, great. But if you spend weeks and weeks between the initial meetings and the proposal until they have physically made the sale, until they have physically put the money in your account, from this point, it basically begins to drop. Even after they have bought, their buy-in continues to drop after the sale, after the initial pitch is made. When the pitch is made is the most likely that they are to buy. And because your value is also going down, their likelihood of buying again is also beginning to plummet. What's interesting is that for some reason, this method is considered pretty normal. I still see it now. I still see people try to sell me this solution. I still have people, and we all do. We've all got messages in LinkedIn from people saying, hey, you know, just wondered if we could jump on a call, just have a chat, see how things are. You say, yeah, great, let's jump on a Zoom call. And obviously you can't do coffee at the moment. That's another thing I'll talk about in a minute. The physical limitations of what you're working with and who you are now basically almost eliminate this part. So what do? You jump on Zoom, which is even worse, right? So all of this is a massive mess. And it also causes you essentially to be unprofitable. It causes your value to drop, which, by the way, is also really important for your own self-esteem. If you don't have a customer that values you, if you don't have customers that value you, that can be really difficult to work with and difficult to continue motivating yourself along. The customer I mentioned at the start, who I really wanted to work with, the thing that made it difficult wasn't the budget. It was the fact that he quite clearly didn't really value what it was that I was doing. For whatever reason, it was difficult for me to be like, this is a really big thing that could change your business and make your life a whole lot easier, but he just wasn't interested in it. And because he wasn't interested in it, it meant I wasn't interested in it. It made the whole thing very, very difficult. So instead, this is the process that I tend to go through. I still have the initial lead come into the business, right? And they say, hey, man, we heard that you, only the other day, we heard that you use Orabi Analytics. We'd love for you to come in and help our guys with the analytics. We'd love it if you gave us some coaching on the analytics. I was like, fantastic. 99% of people will immediately say, how about we jump on a quick call and let us know and tell me a bit about your business. I'm not interested in that at all. I want to give them a hoop to jump through. I want to say, great, absolutely fine. I actually don't do unscheduled calls, so please go ahead, connect with me here on LinkedIn. By the way, you know, book a calendar appointment here for a call with one of my guys. I want to give them something that eliminates them. Funnily enough, we actually do the same when we hire people as well. We give them a small hoop to jump through at the start, and then we increase that hoop. Something, by the way, as well, your income level is going to be affected by each one of these stages, and I'm going to show you how we basically create kind of micro products throughout this process that pay for the cost of acquisition of the customer. All of this ultimately costs you money up until about here. That's all an expense. And then only after the customer is bought are you profitable. And then as soon as you discover things you didn't know about, your profit is eaten into. This here not only eliminates the profit deficit, the amount of profit that's eaten into, what it also does is create smaller products for you and extremely scalable products. So I immediately give them a hoop to jump through, and I say, yeah, that's absolutely fine. Connect with me on LinkedIn. Go ahead and send in your information here. I might give them a really quick like qualification form or something. I basically want something where it's, I'm not doing all the work. I'm the consultant, the expert, the knowledge, whatever. I've got the advice in my head. I'm not doing the work. If you really want this, if it's really valuable to you, you'll continue to chase me. Immediately flip the process. And this happened overnight. The next thing I do is I qualify them. Now, hopefully, this is something that you are all doing. However, a lot of people feel the need that a qualification call takes an hour. Again, it's basically the coffee stage, but you do it over Zoom. Maybe you do it over coffee. You don't need to do any of that. It's absolutely mental that people spend an hour on that. The qualification is literally designed to tell you, are you talking to the right person? As in, are you, the expert, talking to the right person? Are you talking to the right person? And the only person you need to worry about is the decision maker. That's it. How often have you got to the proposal stage or the meeting stage, said, this is how much it costs. It's 3 grand, it's 5 grand, it's 10 grand, it's 25 grand, it's 1.6 mil, right? Whatever it is. And they said, great, cool. We really like it. We've just got to go run it past our marketing manager and then finance and HR and legal, and we'll let you know. I'm like, so what the hell was all of that about? Why was I talking to you? If you're not the person making the decision, why am I having a conversation with you? The number one thing that will kill a deal and just strangle it into the dirt is not making sure that you qualify them and make sure you're talking to the right person. Most people believe that qualification is about the budget, and that's not strictly true. I know I've talked about getting the budget. The number one thing to do with qualification is to make sure you're talking to the right person. If, by the way, you are in the realm of cold calling, that's the point of a cold call, by the way. A lot of people send a cold call or a cold email, send a cold call. They make a cold call or they send a cold email and they do some outreach and they immediately say, hey, Mike, I'm a fucking whatever, social media account manager. Just wondering if you needed some social media account managed. Here's some free downloads. Way fucking off, way off. The number one thing that you need to figure out before anything, even before the budget, is, are you talking to the right person? And that's the entire point of the qualification call. And by the way, this can be done with a form. So we have an automated form. I have an automated form. If not, it's a 15-minute call. It's literally a 15-minute call. And I'll basically run through BANTS. I go, great, connect with me on LinkedIn. And also here's a really quick Calendly invite, so go ahead and put your information in there. And they'll say, yep, great, that sounds good, cool. Let's just jump on a really quick call. I just need to make sure that I'm talking to the right people, make sure that I'm the right person for you. B is budget. Again, people like to talk around this. Let's say, what's your total income? What percentage? How much are you looking to spend? What's your budget for this project? Just get it out of the fucking open. They go, we don't really know. and we'll talk about, later on how you can get around that, people who like to talk around the process. Authority. Ultimately, that is actually the number one thing I'm interested in at the moment, because budget's going to be taken care of during these two stages, especially growth and audit and potentially proposal. I obviously want to get the budget. I do want to get the budget, but I need to know who the authority. Are you the decision maker or are you their assistant? Oh, I'm the marketing manager. Do you actually have the say-so to say, yes, I want to buy this? I'll go, oh no, we would have to get finance and HR. Great. Who's your finance manager and who's your HR manager? Or no, we'd have to get finance and the CMO involved. Great. Who's the finance manager? Who's the CMO? Because they need to be in on the meeting, every single meeting. Now, if someone says, oh, I can't do that, they're too busy, I'm not interested in working with them. Because if I'm sure as hell not able to get on a call with them there, how the hell do you think I'm going to be able to pitch to them and get the sale there? I'm not going to be able to. It's literally not going to happen. Budget, authority, needs. So I get a brief overview. I say, what exactly is it you're looking for? What's your biggest problem you're facing? We want to implement some new marketing strategies or some new marketing analytics, and we're not sure which route to go down. Awesome. Time scale. When are you looking to start? You go, we're just kind of shopping around. Cool. I'm not interested in talking with you. Thank you so much for your time. Please get in touch with me when you're actually ready to start this process. Unless they are interested in working with me in the next 3 months, I'm not interested in talking with them. A lot can happen in 3 months. There were projects on the line for tens of millions of dollars in March that immediately disappeared because of one guy eating some bats. Right? I want to know immediately, is the timescale within 3 months? Because outside of that, it's too much control. Bizarrely, if they go, oh, we're looking to start in the next week or two, it's going to cost them more money to get a proposal from me that quickly, because that shows they haven't really planned ahead. And next up is suppliers. Who are they working with? Who else are you talking to? Who currently does your analytics? Who currently does your lead generation? Because all of this, and like I said, we have a form that asks this. It's really quick. It's designed to qualify them out, hence the net. I don't want to work with everyone and anyone. I want to work with people who know the decision maker and ideally are the decision maker. They've got a decent budget. They know what their timescales are. They know who their suppliers are, and they know what they're looking for. That's what I'm interested in. I actually don't want to work with everyone. And what was interesting is one of the kind of the hooks that I gave for this one is the more no's you say as an agency, the more yeses you'll get. Out of 10 people who email me for a lead, I would say maybe immediately 6 of them do the hoop. Maybe 3 of them qualify through. And between the qualification stage and the growth stage, I have a scorecard. And the scorecard, my scorecard immediately actually basically looks like this. Sales, operations, admin. And I say, are their sales really strong? Yeah. Are their operations really strong? Yeah, but their admin's really weak. I'm interested in working with them. Their sales are really strong. Their admin's really strong, but their operations are really weak. I'm interested in working with them. If their sales are really weak, but their admin and their operations are really strong, I'll want to work with them. Very basically, that's what my scorecard looks like compared to the BANTS qualification. There's other ways of doing this, If you were to have a look at this, and have a look at that customer, and after the qualification call, say, fantastic, thanks so much. I'm going to reach out to you with what I think the best solution is going forward, right? You don't have to give them a solution right there and then. Take the pressure off yourself. Say, thanks very much for the call. I've got another call that I need to jump on immediately. I'm going to let you know, right? And it might be you like the type of customer, you like their personality, do they seem fun to you? And the budget is good. And it might be out of those 3, you think, I'm not a massive fan of the type of customer. I love their personality and I love their budget. Great. It might be that they don't have a great budget, but you love the type of customer and you love the type of person, then you want to work with them. So I have a very basic scorecard that they have to score on for me to go, yeah, I want to work with them. So I'm eliminating them. And yeah, I lose way more customers, and we did lose way more customers, but the ones we ended up with were not only extremely profitable, but were desperate to work with us. We then sell them a growth session. Now, this is mandatory. You can't budge on this with us. What this does is basically we say to them, all right, immediately, there's a £997 growth session. You'll sit down with me for an hour. I'll talk you through this process. And we're going to uncover exactly what your blind spots are in the business, what's not working, and I'm going to figure out exactly how we can help. I have a script and an email that I use to sell that. And this is what's really interesting, is I basically run through a series of questions, a lot of which are based on my book, From Single to Scale, because I understand that those are the qualities that I can help with. If I have a niche and I know that the only type of customer I can work with is one with a scalable product, great. If they don't have a scalable product, I'll have to build them a scalable product. If they don't have a scalable product and they don't want to build a scalable product, nothing I can do. You might have seen this before. I call it laps. Very basically, the growth session is designed to go through their laps process. How many leads do you have? How many leads do you generate? How many leads do you need? How many appointments are you getting now? How many appointments have you had in the past? How many appointments do you need? How many proposals or how many pitches are you making? How many do you want to make? And how many have you made in the past? And sales, how many sales have you made? How many sales do you want to make? And how many sales are you making currently per day or whatever? This gives me an incredible snapshot into their business, because what tends to happen is we tend to see that their sales are at, 10 a day, for example. They make maybe 12 pitches per day or whatever. They have 12 appointments per week, but then they have 0 leads. And they've never seen it in this process before. They've never gone, fuck, I know where our problem is. I go, great. Here's what's interesting. During this part of the process with picking your brain, what you think they will value is your knowledge. Unfortunately, what customers actually want to hear is they want to hear that their ideas are good. They don't want your ideas. How often have you had coffee with someone, even offered to pay for them? You like who they are, you even believe in their product, and you said, here's what you need to do. Right? And you've given them 3 things to do, or 5 things to do, or 12 things to do. They've gone away and they've done none of them. If anything, they've done the opposite. You're like, what the hell was the point in having coffee with you? The growth session highlights to them and shows them, this is what your business looks like. Yep, you've had consultants come in. Yep, you've had accountancies and experts come in and gurus and all this stuff. But here's what's actually happening with your business. What do you think we need to fix? And all of a sudden, their idea is very different, because you're just presenting them with the information. And what I like to do is I like to say, okay, it sounds like you've actually got a real lead generation problem at the moment. It's too expensive to generate leads. And they go, yeah, fuck, that's exactly it. All I've done is ask them a ton of questions during the growth session. I haven't pitched anything. I haven't told them anything. I haven't let them pick my brains. If they've said, oh, I just got a few questions, I have always said, I will absolutely answer every question that you've got. I need to ask a few more questions in order to make sure I can give you the best advice possible. Right, this is recorded and we'll send this out. So if you want to write that down, here's what you go. They say, I was just wondering if I could just ask a few questions. Or if you're halfway through your questions and they go, well, but what about ... You say to them, I'm going to answer as many questions as you want. I just need to ask a few more questions in order to give you the best answer. And they go, oh, okay, that's fine. Good. They're really eager to start. They're really eager to start. But unfortunately, they don't know what they don't know. So I ask them a ton of questions. I repeat back to them what they've told me. I said, great. Well, it looks like your leads or your pitches, it might be the other way around. Maybe they do 100 leads a day. They get 80 appointments per week. They do 10 proposals, but they only do 1 sale. I'm like, well, chances are that bit there is the part that we could work on, right? They go, oh yeah, that sounds really good. Even though you're not generating any sales, the problem probably lies, in that number there. Or they go, look, we do 100 pitches and we only get 1 sale. Well, obviously the problem lies in that conversion there. How does that sound? They'll all think it's traffic, and usually it's not. They say, okay, yeah, that's exactly it. We're not generating enough sales, not generating enough revenue. You've just pointed out that our process isn't right or our scale isn't right. And I've got all of this, right? I've got all of this written out and documented. I say, great. Would you like some help with that? Oh my God, yes. That's all I've asked. I haven't pitched, and I'm a guy who loves to sell. I haven't pitched to them. I just said, would you like some help with that? They go, yeah, we're desperate for some help. I go, great. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to suggest that we do an audit on the business. We're going to do a real deep dive. We're going to get into all of your systems, and we're going to flush out all of the places that we can optimize. We're also going to present with you a report that tells you exactly where your business is, and is also going to tell you where your business could be compared to standard industry metrics, and also what we think would happen if we were to affect some of the things within your business, right? Standard report. What we're also going to deliver to you is a playbook. Now, the playbook is basically going to be a customized, bespoke playbook for your business that's going to tell you exactly what to do. First of all, this is $19.97 or whatever you're charging, right? I understand that some people aren't comfortable charging the prices. That's not what I want to talk about. What I want to talk about is building out these different products, because we've already made some money here, right? And we're going to make some money here. And most importantly, we haven't lost any money here. So I'm going to deliver you a playbook. Now, between you and me, the playbook is actually pretty standardized because most people have got the same problems, and you deliver them the report based on the audit. Here's what this does. First of all, this removes all skeletons, because when you deep dive into the business, during the growth and the qualification stage, they said, yeah, we've got 10,000 email leads. You go, awesome, okay, fantastic. If you've got 10,000 email leads, why are you only seeing 5 conversions every few days? You go, we don't know, we can't understand it, we don't get it. You go, great. During your audit, during your paid deep dive sessions, you find out that 8,059 of them were bought, right? Which basically means that all their emails are getting caught in spam filters. You wouldn't have known that had you just gone to the proposal stage. And even if you ask them and you say, okay, so just want to make sure they're not bought, are they? They'll go, no. We acquired them through perfectly legal methods. Yeah, know what I mean? I'm like, all right, fine. But when you go into it, there's no escaping. You said, look, we've looked into this. We've looked into your data. All of these people have clicked on spam. They're not interested in working with you. They don't even want to hear from you. So that's why we build this process out, is to basically slowly uncover, are they worth working with? In an ideal world, I would just drop a 25K customer in your lap every 3 months, and I'll say, this person needs X, Y, Z. Thanks very much. And you'd build it for them and you'd move on. But even in the best and most simple cases, it's not like that. You have to go through these processes. You have to qualify people out that you don't want to work with and that can't afford your systems and services and that also aren't the right person. You also want to charge for your growth sessions, maybe $497 or $997 as I do or whatever, because you want them to see their ideas. You want to deliver them a playbook and a report based on all of the insight. And then again, you say to them, here's the playbook. Would you like us to build this for you? They go, great. And what you have basically given them, that is the proposal. The proposal you send for them for the long-term project, which is, 25 grand or whatever you want it to be, that is essentially, it's the equivalent of a receipt, because that's the proposal. You have answered all of their questions. You'll say, I'll gladly tell you everything I know. Here's what happens. First of all, your income stays the same. Qualification stage, you're not losing any. Growth, it immediately goes up because they're paying for it. It stays the same. Audit, it goes up again. Proposal, it goes up again. Just by adding these products beforehand, and we could push this way further down, and we could say, okay, great. The first thing I need, and we have started playing around with this, and it's working extremely well. Go, absolutely fine. We have a $19 book. Here's the first thing I need you to go ahead and buy. Is pick up one of them, and and go through the exercises, and we'll come back to you. And we've landed some real big customers. My business partner, Mark, is smashing it with basically this approach, and then he qualifies them, right? You don't have to. There's other ways of doing this, but this is to work with you. And if you'll remember that product menagerie or suite that I talk about, the high ticket offer, and not everything has to be high ticket, right? But your offer that you are at 25K needs to be the high ticket version. In order to work with you, they should have to jump through these hoops. They should have to buy a core product. And chances are, this is going to be your core product. If you know your audience, if you know your market, if you know the customer, you're going to be able to put the playbook together before you've even done an audit with them, because you know what it's going to be. This is basically your operations manual for executing the proposal. You say, here it is. By the way, if you want us to do it, it's 25 grand. I'll even reduce and take off the price of this and this if you buy us from us now. And you go, it's 21,000, whatever that is. As my maths is off, I'm giving people away too much. 22,000. So it's 25 grand, but I'll give it to you for 22. We just require a 10K deposit, and we can get started on this today, and we can start building out this playbook. All of the skeletons are out in the air. You're basically showing them this is what we're going to build, and they have bought that from you. If they want that faster and easier, that's a real old school. I'll have to write that down. That's going to go on a t-shirt. If they want it faster and easier, great. They can buy it from you. If they want to do it themselves, fantastic, not a problem. You've sold it to them for a decent price, and it's extremely scalable. So your income goes up. Let's have a look at value. Your value immediately spikes as soon as you say, yeah, great, I just need you to do this. We all have them. People on LinkedIn say, hey man, I was just wondering if we could, jump on a quick call. And I now pretty much upfront say, look, I don't do unscheduled calls, but if you want to book a meeting with me, that's absolutely fine. You can use this link here. My value immediately skyrockets. And what it does is each time you put a hoop in front of them, your value goes up. And by this point, every single time, well, here's what's interesting. Let's say that each one of these lines represents 10 people, right? So we've got 100 here. By this point, yeah, only, I don't know, 20 are going to want to come through. And by this point, it's only going to be 8, so it's not even a full line. And by this point, it's only going to be 6. And by this point, it's going to be 2, and only 1 person going through, right? Steve, that's a good question. I'll come on to that in a minute. It's a really good question. So your value goes up because you're respectful of your own time. Finally, the customer buy-in by this point, pretty zero. Actually, no, as I mentioned, they're actually really interested. It drops. Fine. Qualify, goes up a bit. Around this stage, the growth stage, big jump. The reason there's a jump is not because you're telling them what you should do. They're saying, this is the idea. And you go, great, would you like some help with that? That's all you're saying. Bam, straight up. And then it drops down a little bit. And then we audit them because we say, hey, the playbook's here. Would you like some help with that? And it jumps back up again. That process there, you've already got all the information, you've got all the implements, but will massively change how profitable your marketing funnels are, massively change how profitable your processes are, massively change how profitable your business is. And that basically creates a bunch of products for you. Here's what I like as well. You can train someone to do the qualification call. You can even get a literal robot. I have a chatbot do mine from landbot.io. The growth session, very, very simple, because remember, you're not necessarily delivering insight on this, but even if you are, it's a pretty simple process because they're going to tell you what's wrong with the business and you say, would you like some help with that? And they go, yeah. You go, great. We have an audit. That's how I think we're going to be able to deliver a playbook to you that's going to tell you exactly how to fix your business. They go, awesome. And it's well under budget as well. Steve asks, if the audit is my core product, yep. Would the audit be what I talk about in the pillar and killer post? Or would it be at the high ticket funnel or both? So Steve, it's kind of a blend of the two, right? It's a really good question. This playbook is probably going to outline a process, right? Let's say that it's 5 steps and you've decided that your market is seeing as we're doing this on YouTube, dickhead YouTubers who have no idea how to make money from their audience, right? And you say, okay, well, the first thing you need to do is lead generation. You need to do an email list. Second thing is you need to partner with people. Third, fourth, and fifth thing, right? That process there is going to be what you outline in the playbook. And then that process is also what you actually physically build during the proposal stage or the actual physical delivery stage. Your pillar content is outlining that process. It just doesn't go into enough detail with the playbook to tell someone this is literally how you'll do it. Partly because even if you wrote 10,000 words, a lot of it's going to be based around, you know, anecdotes and talking them through it and explaining processes, but you're not going to specifically say to them, this is what your business needs to do and this is what your business needs to do. But it's basically outlining part of that process. What I have done in the past is taken a proposal, kind of reverse engineered it and turned it into a sales page, so that I've said, this is what we sell essentially for this particular audience. Based off the language, and I've also extracted a lot of the process stuff to go into the blog post. I hope that answers your question, because it's a good one. Danjay, the only question is anyone can answer. I'm starting from scratch, no experience. What charges should I charge? Danjay, I've got 101 videos on that, literally across my entire YouTube channel. So I'm not going to answer it in this video, because I have probably close to 30 videos talking about how much you should charge if you're starting from scratch. Go ahead and look into the YouTube. I think I've even got playlists called like how much to charge for a marketing funnel, or how much should you charge for a marketing funnel. I've got books based on that. I can't resist a plug. 5-figure funnels. It's like 99 cents on Amazon that will tell you exactly how much you should charge. We've got courses. We've got tons of information. So I'm not going to answer it on this piece here, because we've got loads about it. Luke, all my clients have a free call before spending £500 on a proposal/plan, which contains the pricing for the solutions we recommend. That's why you're my boy, Luke. Love that. Thank you very much for sharing that. So essentially, what we have done is we have a thing called Apex, and this is part of that Apex process. We have audit, product, engage, and then X stands for matrix. I have taken out the audit module, and I have basically put together all of this stuff here, just the audit module, which is going to take you through the entire process that I've talked about there, even if you don't buy the rest of it, which is like product creation and creating campaigns and creating all this kind of stuff. With the Apex audit being made available, we have split it out, and we are now offering that as a one-off payment. So you can actually get access to all of the stuff that I've talked about there, which is your growth plans. It's the qualification scripts, how to sell audits, how to sell processes, how to sell the plan and the playbook. We've got all of that available. If you head, in fact, I might even have it as a link here. Let's have a look. Yeah, so sellyourservice.co.uk/audit. You can basically get all of this. So you can get all of my scripts, you can get all of my templates, you can get all of my processes, and you can get all of that for $197. So the whole of Apex is usually $997, and I have basically taken out this part of the process, a quarter of the process, the audit part. So the reason I've done this is because I think that this is the easiest way to start building out your product line. I also think it's the easiest way to add massive value and like profit to your business. If your project proposals are even at 10K, this current one, I'll do that in dollars, this current process means that that's not particularly profitable. Even if you keep your prices exactly the same, you can add, and you can still keep this all bundled up as, by the way, as 10K. You could still do this. Let's say you do this as 1,500, right? And you do this as 500. You could still say, this is a 10K project, but we will do it for the case of 8 grand and knock off the price of these previous two pieces here. Here's why this is important. First of all, amazingly, and again, we have data to prove this, a 10K project is a lot more profitable the more work the customer has to do up front. The more they're honest and open with you and the more they're upfront with you, the less likely it is that you're going to discover, you know, hidden stuff in the back. And he says this session brings back memories of Apex. It's awesome. Steve asks, does it go over how to actually do the audits? Yep, literally. In fact, let me jump into the what's the easiest way to do this? I type in, actually, let me do that. Let me throw this over here and you guys can see the top of my head for a minute. And I'm going to look for audit. And I'm going to share my screen. Here we go. Cool. So we have it's actually this one here. Order of priorities, don't have to worry about that too much. That basically is going to tell you what customers need to do and when. You've got a scorecard template, you've got my example, and you've got an actual scorecard that you can use. How to sell a project and an audit. It's just a script, you know, a written script that you can go through. Growth session sales email, so the sales email that I take people through to sell growth sessions. The request for access form, which is the start of the audit, Steve, which everyone forgets, and it just basically outlines how to get information. The audit checklist, using audits then to sell projects, so how to go through that audit process. How to deliver insights and next steps, both for the growth session and the audit. The growth session script, which, by the way, don't be surprised if you find out that the growth session script is actually the most profitable part of your business, because for an hour, even if you're only charging $200, they talk to you, you ask a bunch of questions, their buy-in is sky high, and you just repeat back to them what they've told you, and all of a sudden they're interested in working with you. Mike, can we outsource the auditing? Some of the audits analytics platforms are quite expensive. 100%, 100%. So Eddie, I know that you've got this already. The audit checklist, here's how I've done this in the past, is I've run through the audit checklist. I've run through, and you can hire someone by the hour. So you can go to like places like, I use onlinejobs.ph. And for the sake of, you know, $200 a month, you can have someone working for you part-time, you know, a couple of hours a day, 4 hours a day, and you just record that process. You tell them how they're going to do it. They can go away and do it. Those processes are basically information gathering. So you can absolutely get other people to do that for you, yeah. We have qualification response. So that's if someone isn't worth working with or is worth working with, like how do you separate them out? The qualification script, as well as I give you a bunch of examples on how our chatbot runs that. And that's something else that we outsource. We just have someone else basically picking up the phone, booking a call and running through that growth script with them. Immediate prospect contact, which I wouldn't worry about here. And finally, success signals. Let me just talk a bit about success signals. Good question, Steve. Can we upgrade to full Apex if we want it? 100%, man. Absolutely, of course you can. Yeah, we've got a pro rata thing already going. All the stuff's built in the back end, so of course you can upgrade if you want to take it to that next level. This is kind of the point, is we basically wanted to make sure that the process here was as accessible as possible. I personally believe that within one customer, you have the potentiality to basically buy the rest of Apex. So what I'm doing, first of all, based on the response we've had and the testimonials that we have, and if you're in the Facebook group, just ask, like, what do people think about Apex? Is it worth getting? You won't have a single person say no. It's absolutely 100% like, it's just the way that I ran my business. It's the way that I ran campaigns for customers. It's the way that we ended up working with only 3 or 4 customers a year, but they were really good fun to work with and we enjoyed it. I'm betting that if you were to buy the qualification part and the audit part, that's what Apex. So Apex stands for, and we'll talk about success signals, audit, product, engage, and then matrix. APEM just didn't sound as good. I'm betting that if you buy just audit, you will think, okay, well, I've made enough money now to buy the rest of it. So it absolutely is, you know, pro rata charged or whatever. So you can absolutely do that. Let me talk really briefly about success signals. What you are essentially looking for throughout this whole process is success signals. And what a success signal is when you say to the customer, I need you to have at least 1,000 email addresses in your inbox, or I need you to have at least 1,000 people, have bought your product in the past for us to work the rest of the process. During the hoop, you're probably not going to get that. And remember, the qualification, the most important point is the who. You want to just find out. During this growth session, though, you then begin to find success signals, and you will see them during the qualification process. For example, a success signal for me is this person willing to change the way that they work, the way they do business, the way that they run their products? Is this person willing to create scalable products? If they are, great, and I can probably find that out. Are they willing to follow my instructions? Great, they are. They're willing to find out. So I'm looking for all these success signals throughout the process and the audit here that basically tell me, one, this person is worth working with, but more importantly, are they going to be profitable? There's a massive difference in taking someone from 0 to 100 compared to someone who's at 90 and going to 100. If you were to take someone from 0 to 100 grand, that's an infinite % return on investment. That needs to cost them minimum 200 grand. 100 grand needs to go to you. It's incredibly expensive to get to that point. However, to get from 90 grand to 100 grand, and maybe it's 90 grand a month to 100 grand a month or whatever, that's way easier, right? Way easier. And you actually want those types of projects, because this takes such a long time. There's also such a massive investment. It's kind of like an inverse proportionality, you know? The amount of return on investment on your first 100 grand's worth of revenue is so low in comparison to how much you've had to spend, it wasn't worth it. But in order to get someone from 90 to 100, I'm looking for these success signals to say, yeah, I can take them there. I can absolutely get them there because of the structure of their business. Cool, guys, thank you so much. I cannot believe we've already smashed through an hour. I was really worried that I was going to run out of content or material. As I mentioned, sellyourservice.co.uk/audit. You can get the whole audit process behind me for $197 one time. It's exactly the same part. It's literally the A part of the process that we've moved out. So you can go ahead and get that. That gives you all of that. If you've got any questions, by all means, throw them in the comments, and I'll do my best to get around and answering them, or throw them in the Facebook group, or by all means, go ahead and email me if I'm ever checking it, michael@sellyourservice.co.uk, and I will catch you guys later. Thank you so much for joining me for the past hour. Massively appreciate it. Hopefully, I've showed you how we go from this process to this process, and how actually it's pretty simple to do. It just requires a little bit of forward thinking, and you can start charging customers way before you've even sent the proposal and be profitable before you even start building a product with them. In the meantime, guys, thank you so much for your time. Have courage, commit, and take action.